I can still recall a conversation I had at our local jail with a young man, let's call him Robert, who tried to make sense of his broken relationship with his mother. I know it sounds Freudian when I say that, but it was true. Robert was facing charges of armed robbery. My job was to help his attorney figure out why he stuck a gun in a store owner's face and walked out with a box of cigarettes and a bottle of Gatorade. To make a long story short, when Robert was a young adult, his mother fell into a bad relationship with an alcoholic and essentially abandoned her role as a parent. You might think that Robert would tell me that he was bitter at his mother and that's why he turned to a life of crime, or maybe he would talk to me about how his mother's abandonment of him would cause him to be depressed and develop an I don't care attitude. To be sure, Robert was bitter and he was depressed, but on this particular day, he was grappling with a different issue. Robert wanted to figure out why he still loved his mother. He said to me, after all the ways she hurt me, and after telling me she couldn't wait until my sisters and I left the house for good, I never quit loving her. I haven't even talked to her in 3 years, but I think about her every single day. Why do I do that? Well, I said back to Robert, it hurts that you chose to love your mother and she didn't choose to love you in return. Unexpectedly, Robert pounded the table in front of us and said, I did choose to love her, and she turned her back on me. Okay, that begs a question. Why do some people stick with or stay devoted to people who make them unhappy? Why do some couples stay married even though they're unhappy with one another? And maybe the relationship is even abusive. Why do people drift so far afield that they risk going to prison, all for a bunch of cigarettes and a bottle of Gatorade? Some answers to questions like that are fairly obvious. Some people stay in bad relationships because of financial reasons, or because kids are involved, or maybe they feel ashamed of admitting that they failed in a relationship, or maybe they stay in unhealthy relationships because they don't want to give up hope of eventually saving their partner or their special friend. Let's dig a little bit deeper. Some people stay in toxic relationships because of emotional need deficits. Emotional needs are different than and more complicated than the needs I just mentioned: financial needs, family needs, even shame. Robert had been traumatized, and yet he stayed emotionally tied to his mother because he so badly wanted her to be empathetic toward him. He wanted her to feel proud that he was her son, and in turn, he wanted to give her a reason to be proud that he was her son. It didn't work out that way for Robert, did it? In 1984, Tina Turner released a song called What's Love Got to Do With It? You remember that song? I would sing it for you, but you'd probably laugh and then turn off this video, and I don't want you to do either of those things. In the song, Tina Turner refers to love as a second-hand emotion. She sings about her confusion over love, and that's a sentiment that no doubt helped to connect her with her listening audience, which obviously included me. When we hear people speak of their experiences with love and then connect it to trauma and failure, it's hard not to be confronted by its complexity and sometimes its cruelty. I want to, but I'm not certain I can fully define love. Can you? Love is romance, it's physical desire, admiration, altruism, care, hope, and a host of other words all rolled into one. But really, it's more than that. Love, at its core, is all about humanity. Beyond what we might realize, in many ways, we define ourselves according to how we love and how well we love. Because love is in my DNA and in yours, it's a really powerful emotion, for good or bad. I have friends, and I'm sure you probably do too, who I want to love deeply in the purest sense of that word. But because they've been hurt by someone, maybe a lot of someone's, they're hesitant to let me be empathetic or understanding or to give them much needed feedback. You know what I mean? Have you had that experience? And if I'm honest with myself, maybe I've failed to let someone into my emotional world, someone who could have been exactly what I needed in a time of personal pain. As I sat in jail and listened to Robert, I found myself asking questions like this. When did Robert begin to believe he was not loved? What happened to the communication between himself and his mother? How do anger and disgust and fear get intertwined with feelings of love? Is love such a strong emotion that its presence or absence makes all the difference in the way a life plays out? As I left jail that day, I had to ask myself how Robert and I might be alike. I tell you how I answered that question. I firmly believe love has everything to do with how you and I live. Everything. That makes us alike in many ways. You know, I'm not the first psychologist who respects the complexity of love. It's generally accepted in mental health circles that people who believe they are unloved feel inferior. That perception simultaneously limits self-growth and, paradoxically, begs for attention. To successfully overcome hardship or trauma or adversity, a person must ultimately draw one very important conclusion. Love defines who and what you are. Listen to those words. They're very important. You are by nature meant to be loved, to love yourself, and to love others. Perhaps the foundation of your self-concept didn't include enough affirmation or affection or approval. But know this, love defines the best of who you are. Like I said a moment ago, it's in your DNA, and it will never leave you. After his trial was over, I lost track of Robert, but I still think of him from time to time. I sincerely hope he came to realize his loving nature was independent of his family of origin and his experiences. His goodness, just like mine and yours, is intact, no matter the mistakes his mother made, no matter the mistakes he made. It's hard for people who have never broken a major law or who have never spent time in jail to believe they have things in common with a guy who committed an armed robbery. But the very fact of the matter is, all people have been through hardship. All of us. We've all endured some kind of trauma. All people find themselves grappling with the question, what's love got to do with it? What's love got to do with me? I know this about Robert. He instinctively realized that all the troubles he had previously experienced was noise that kept him from being the real person he really is. And he realized that love of self and love of others involves choice. I think I'll make the choice to try my very best to love myself and those around me. What about you? I'm psychologist Lee Carter. I'd like you to answer that question. What's love got to do with it? I and other viewers would like to hear your comments. And if you'd like, please subscribe to my channel and take note of the link below this video that directs you to some reading material I think you'll find useful. I'll see you again soon.